It's been a fascinating and slightly perplexing week for Arsenal. The emotional and tactical rollercoaster we witnessed, from the dominant high against Spurs to the resilient display versus Bayern, followed by that immensely frustrating stalemate at Stamford Bridge, has laid bare. Here, a recurring theme. A pattern is emerging this season, one that could define our campaign if it isn't addressed. It's not about quality or desire. It's about a specific drop in a fundamental characteristic. The Chelsea game wasn't just a disappointing draw against 10 men. It was a case study in what happens when this Arsenal team loses its rhythmic control and, crucially, its signature intensity. This is becoming a worrying trend in the third game of a demanding week, and it's the single biggest puzzle Mikel Arteta must solve. Let's dissect that Chelsea performance, because it was a masterclass in self-inflicted frustration. Even before a ball was kicked, there was a palpable sense of unease. The energy just felt different. The concern wasn't primarily about the personnel changes at the back. Players like Jakub Kiwior and Taikiro Tomiyasu are more than capable. The issue was the collective application. From the opening whistle, we were off. Our passing was uncharacteristically sloppy. We gifted possession in dangerous areas, and we simply couldn't establish our usual stranglehold on the game. The hallmarks of our play, suffocating pressure, quick combinations, territorial dominance, were absent. Instead, it became a chaotic, transitional basketball game, which is exactly what Chelsea wanted. The early flurry of yellow cards from the referee didn't help, creating a tense, stop-start atmosphere where every challenge felt like a potential sending off. It was a game played on a knife's edge, and we never managed to step away from it. The sending off should have been our catalyst. Playing against 10 men for an hour at Stamford Bridge is a scenario you dream of. But paradoxically, it seemed to disrupt our flow even further. The game lost any remaining semblance of rhythm. We had the ball, but we did very little with it. There was a startling lack of incision, of clever movement, of that relentless pressure that forces errors. We were passive. The introduction of Jorginho at halftime was a logical move to inject control, but even his presence couldn't fully recalibrate our tempo. The goal we conceded was soft, a poorly defended set-piece that stemmed from a dubious free kick, highlighting a lapse in concentration that often creeps in when the team's collective intensity dips. The equaliser brought relief but not satisfaction, because the performance never truly clicked into gear. This brings us to the core issue. The intensity drop-off. Look back at this season's schedule. There's a noticeable trend in games that are the third in a week, particularly after a Champions League outing. The physical and mental output against a side like Bayern Munich is monumental. Replicating that same explosive energy a few days later, especially away from home against a physical, disruptive side like Chelsea, is a monumental challenge. We saw similar struggles earlier in season. Then, the pattern is there. The first 2 games in a week are often sharp and commanding, while the third can feel laboured and sluggish. It's not an excuse. It's a physiological and tactical reality that elite teams must navigate. In periods where we had the Carabao Cup to rotate, we managed it better. And now, with the relentless demands of the Champions League, Arteta's rotation and conditioning strategies are under the microscope. When we don't play at our maximal intensity, we don't control games. When we don't control games, we allow physical opponents a foothold, and we open ourselves up to the kind of chaotic, error-strewn contest we saw at Chelsea. This makes the upcoming clash with Brentford absolutely critical. On paper, it's a home game. We should win. Comfortably. But football isn't played on paper. Brentford are a notoriously tough, physical, and well-drilled opponent. They excel at set pieces. They are happy to sit in a deep, compact block, and they will look to exploit any fatigue or lack of sharpness. They will have seen the Chelsea tape. They will know that disrupting our rhythm and turning the game into a physical battle is their path to success. For Arsenal, this game is less about Brentford and more about ourselves. It's about response. It's about proving that the Chelsea performance was a blip, not a blueprint for how to play against us. Therefore, team selection becomes a fascinating dilemma for Arteta. Does he run his key players back out there, hoping for a continuity bounce and a statement performance?
A statement performance?
Or does he proactively rotate, trusting the squad's depth to provide the fresh legs and energy that the Chelsea game so clearly lacked? This is where the returns of players like Thomas Partey and Gabriel Jesus are so valuable. They offer genuine quality from the bench or as starters to change the dynamic. For me, proactive rotation is the key. Players like Martin Odegaard, Bukayo Saka, and Declan Rice have carried a colossal minutes load this season. Giving them a breather, or at least a reduced role from the start, could be vital not just for this game, but for the entire season's run-in. This is where you use your squad. Start Leandro Trossard or Emile Smith-Rowe to bring a different energy. Give Reece Nelson meaningful minutes. Meaningful minutes. Consider a start for Jorginho to dictate tempo from the outset. The objective must be to field a team that can press with ferocity from the first minute and maintain it, something we couldn't do at the Bridge. The debate around Ben White's minutes is also part of this broader rotation picture. It's not merely about one player's form, it's about managing the load across the entire defensive unit. Derrien Timber is coming back from a major injury and playing consistently. Managing his minutes prudently is essential to avoid a setback. Having a fully fit and sharp Ben White isn't just an option, it's a necessity for the long haul. The same principle applies across the pitch. We need Gabriel Magalhaes, William Saliba and Oleksandr Zinchenko all ready and firing, which means distributing minutes intelligently. The path forward is clear. To achieve our objectives, we must rediscover our control, and that control is fueled by intensity. The Chelsea game was a wake-up call. It showed that when our energy levels dip, our entire structure and philosophy become vulnerable. The match against Brentford is the immediate test. It's an opportunity to reassert our dominance at the Emirates, to play the game in the opponent's half, and to avoid the kind of frantic, transitional battle that suits physical underdogs. We have the squad with the quality and depth to rotate intelligently. We have the coaching staff to devise a plan. Now, it's about execution. The season will be defined by how we manage these grueling periods. Collecting points, especially in these home games following European exertion, is paramount. It's about grinding out wins even when the body is tired. And that starts with smart rotation to keep the engine running at full throttle. The charge for the title demands not just brilliance, but endurance and smart management. This week, we get back to basics, we get back to control, and we get back to winning.